good evening, and hello world. I'm Maya Sundermeyer, and I would like to welcome you to the latest episode of my blog series. As you guys can see, I'm on the train and headed back home after a really long day of work. But anyway, I wanted to redo this video since the last one did not turn out. But I do 4 things in my blogs. The first one is always talking about what it's like to live on the autism spectrum. Other times I enjoy giving my 2 cents as to what's going on with autism in the media and in my community. The third new one is I like to give tips to families and individuals on the spectrum, as well as special education teachers and potential and current employers, caregivers, social workers, and the like. And the final thing is I like to cover topics that I am passionate about that have absolutely nothing to do with autism whatsoever. And in this blog, I'm going to give you guys some tips about dating in the workplace. Now, mind you, I would like to mention that I am someone who does not care for dating in the workplace. In fact, I enforce the no dating policy. But I do need to respect that there are companies that do not enforce that. Like, the last place that I had worked was a warehouse for about 8 years, and they were pretty laid back, and there were a couple of other people that I had worked there through the Department of Labor, and they ended up dating. Now, one of these people was in a group home, and the other individual had other human detour systems of their own, and they lived in their own apartment. And again, these people started dating, and the person in the group home started to get the idea that maybe they could get married despite they lived in the group home, and they could magically just move out of that group home and move into their boyfriend's apartment. And they also kept bringing up marriage to the boyfriend, and of course the boyfriend had other views about that, even though they were together for a long time and the relationship was getting pretty serious. He decided he wanted to cut the relationship off, and this led to her feeling very hurt and very betrayed. And of course my coworkers didn't understand why in the world she was acting like that. To them, she was delusional. I mean, they were incredibly ignorant. And I mean, there were not a lot of boundaries, and nobody really handled the situation the right way, and things eventually got out of hand, and it led to one of them ended losing their jobs. So anyway, I wanted to give everybody some tips. So the first thing to remember for those of you that are living on your own and you're dating the individual in the group home, you need to remember that just because somebody lives in a group home, or they're under a guardianship, or they have special rules, you can't assume that they're not human. They have feelings just like you or I. And another thing you need to know too is that you can't assume that somebody is psycho just because they get angry. I happen to know for a fact that when you get angry, it can take you a really, really long way, and it can make you do some really strange things, make you do things you never thought you could do. So please keep that in mind. And you also might need to know that our culture often gets in the way, and it gets to people like individuals who live in group homes and live under guardianships. I mean, everybody in this culture, they want to get married. Everybody has a dream. And, you know, I think most of you need to remember that. And I'd also like to mention, too, that, yes, again, this former coworker of mine got angry, and she started doing things that were inappropriate, and she wasn't listening to anybody, and this coworker her ex kept telling her, no, I'm not interested in you, no, I'm not interested in you, but nobody really handled it the right way. So I have some tips about that as well. There are certain things that you can do for individuals on the spectrum living in group homes. The first thing you need to do is have both parties sit down and try to work everything out. And the second thing to do is you need to learn to set boundaries and guidelines for the individuals in the group home. And I'm talking to you caregivers. And some of the things you can do is maybe you could possibly take away privileges. If they're going to try and harass that other person that doesn't want to be bothered, like take away phone privileges, take away internet privileges, monitor who they email and who they talk to. And if they don't listen to you, you can take away those privileges. But you also need to know that they have feelings, that they want to get married, and possibly sit down with them and talk about all the consequences and help them to understand that marriage is not a fairy tale. It's just because you're going to get married to someone you like that much, you're going to have problems. It's try to be realistic with them on a level that they can understand. So there's that, and then the best thing to do is stamp out the ignorance in places like work, like where I worked, and stop making comments about someone being mentally ill when you yourself are not a doctor. So anyway, if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. Also, please do not forget to subscribe. Until next time, I'm Maya Sundermeyer.